This is the Experience Share podcast,
where I, Mark, the Joe,
and I, Rowan, the Pro,
share our differing experiences in the Pokemon trading card game and competitive circuit.
Whether you're playing for fun or you're trying to reach the top, we hope our Experience Share can help you level up.
If you weren't listening, we'd be talking about it anyway.
So if you are listening, then be sure to use what you learn to beat those who aren't. So, Mark, we're back. It's been a couple weeks.
It has been a couple of weeks. We've seen some things. We've learned some things.
Yes.
I have a lot of questions, as I always do.
Okay. I have a lot of questions for you as well. What do you think? What's your question, though?
Okay. Why can mosquitoes fly, but flies can't mosquito?
Isn't that concerning?
Intro.
All right, so EUIC, that's the first thing we got to talk about today.
Yes, EUIC.
Of course, we were not able to get registered. That was very unfortunate.
Yeah, I didn't get to concede to anyone in the first round.
Yeah, as you said you were going to.
Yeah.
I played Charizard, just the Regieleki thing that was kind of going around.
Are we calling that Control Zard?
I guess like Control Zard.
Yeah. Also, isn't TordZard also Control Zard?
No, that's just like Zard. He attacks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll call it Control Zard, I suppose. The deck was okay. I was testing Bibzard a lot leading up to the event.
You meta manipulated.
I meta manipulated. The deck was good. I was actually on the deck. The deck was good. I've kind of realized now that Tord's deck is just a better version of that deck, where the biggest reason it was good is because you could convert to like a one prize board state at the end, not have a Pidgeot or a Rotom. But if you just play two Turos and a Collapsed, you can pull those Pokemon off your board anyways and have additional early game consistency. So I wasted a lot of time on that deck and then switched pretty last minute onto just Pidgeot Zard with this Regieleki thing. It was okay. I think Tord's list is just kind of better though.
Yeah, you started the tournament pretty well.
Yeah, I was 4-1. Then I lost to a Charizard, so I was 4-2. And then in my winning into day 2, I was 5-2. I played against Alex Hill, who was one of the guys on Isaiah Bradner's Tina deck, which I had played a lot of games of actually, because I was playing some games against Isaiah the day before the tournament. But unfortunately, it was just one of those games where I think I Iono'd him, and he needed to find something pretty reasonable, like an energy or something. And he hit it, and I lost, and that was that. And then I went 6-3. So at least I got some CP. That's great, but definitely not the run I was looking for.
Well, it was good you got CP, because congratulations on your top 4 travel award.
Thank you. That is very true, actually. That is very true. That CP was very important. So not a failure, actually. That was definitely a success. You're right.
I think one of the biggest things is, like, every game of Pokemon counts, and that's one thing I've been really kind of pushing in my juniors. Prince won LAIC, and then, he had a few top 4s here, and he had a few top 16s here, some gentleman agreements in the juniors. Juniors is really tough this year. The margin for error is much lower because they can't get 2 losses. And I let him know at every tournament that every single match he plays counts. And thanks to you, we actually ended up putting him on Bennett Gardy for the tournament for juniors, because we thought, hey, if all the juniors are going to play Charizard, and we can make sure they don't evolve into a Charizard, we'd be in a good spot. And he played 4 Charizard.
Yep.
And he went 3-1 against them, and he said just one difference against the Charizard that he bricked against, he would have been in top 8. And then we had Reed, Game Time Local.
Yeah.
Shout out to Game Time, sponsor. He's someone I also coach. He got his first international top 8, and because he's been focusing on regionals and going to them and doing well at them, he got stipend. Prince got a stipend, and we went to Barcelona the week before London to practice and get time changed, adjusted. And Johan from Montreal, who was staying with us, he won EUIC for juniors, so that was amazing to see. And with Canadians going as well, we almost saw Benny Billinger win his fourth international. Yeah. They called him Billy on stage again.
They did. I heard that. I thought that. I laughed. That was kind of funny.
The Billy Billinger continues.
Yeah.
But
at least he lost to Gabriel Fernandez.
I mean, Gabriel, like I told you, like you're one of the best players I've seen play. We spent a lot of time together, but Gabriel Fernandez, watching that match, and I know that he has a lot of time to play Pokemon. He has a brother that plays Pokemon with him, but sitting in the crowd, like, I just thought his sequencing, his planning, his quick decision making, he didn't stall. Like, that is one of the best played games of Pokemon I've ever seen. I know you have some stuff to say about the play, but just as a player,
it looked good.
I don't think that there's like anyone doing like what he's able to do at his level.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely is an amazing player. I mean, it's hard to win Worlds and then 2 ICs back to back.
And a regional.
Right? And a regional too.
And then 9th at Charlotte, which was the biggest senior regional of all time with a day 2.
With the day 2, right? Yeah, so he's definitely no slouch.
If I was a junior, if I was a senior, if I coached juniors or seniors, I would force them. I'm just saying to people out there, if I'm a parent, even told some of the parents, make your kids watch that game. Make your kids watch that game. Make them watch how Gabriel puts his cards down, how his board state's so clean, how his discard's so clean. This is how you avoid penalties. This is how you avoid DPLs. This is how you just play fundamentally sound Pokemon, that there's no questions about what's happening. Same to Benny, like his stuff was going on, but just, I was amazed.
Yeah, that is a fairly underrated part of the game. When your board state's clear, not only is it nice for your opponent, but it also just helps you play your game better. You know, you don't get caught up in having a messy board and maybe misunderstanding something or miscounting stuff in your discard, stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely important to have a clean board. And sometimes it can be intimidating too to your opponents. You know, when you're like playing your cards very concisely and your board is very clean, it just really sends a message that you know what's going on. And I think that's a good thing. That's some value, right?
But we're going to do something different the first time here. We're going to go straight to the ticker tape over here. And Rowan's going to let us know about a situation in this final where Gabriel actually could have done something differently in the match. So do you want to set us up where we are here?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you said Gabriel played very well, which is very true.
And I thought that was the play that I was watching here, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's setting up the counter catcher so he can't miss. He doesn't need this boss's orders back.
Yes, but actually, so they're tied, or they're about to be tied on prizes 2-2, and Gabriel's playing a pal pad, so he's debating between putting back Explorer's Guidance and boss's orders, and he's going to end up not putting back this boss's orders, but Benny could actually have an opportunity to capitalize on this by making somewhat of a strange play. If Benny sends up his Pidgey and just passes, Gabriel's only gusting effect is Countercatcher. So that would force Gabriel to knock out the Pidgey eventually, or else he would deck out. And then once the Pidgey's knocked out, he can promote the Charizard EX, Iono Gabriel to 1, and it's really unlikely that Gabriel would be able to find that 330 damage knockout. Now, that's not what ends up happening. Benny just goes for the Charizard attack, and Gabriel uses Countercatcher to win the game. But if Benny just decided to put up Pidgey and pass, Gabriel probably would have lost the game because he didn't put back that boss's orders. So somewhat of an intricate play involving running out of resources, especially like running out of boss is just really not where you want to be. So yeah, that's pretty much a breakdown of what happens here.
I think it's also really important to go back and watch some of these matches, even older ones. I've been doing that a lot recently for when I didn't play, just to see how people play Pokemon, how they prize map. A lot of the deck concepts go through and they come back. Being able to watch and kind of learn on the fly from there too. And you can see here both on both these boards, like everything's clear. You know exactly what there is. You can see how the game progresses. And then if you play this matchup in real life, then you can kind of try to approach it in the same way or change the different things. Do you think that if Benny was on the Tord list without the Lecky, he probably would have beaten Gabriel in this matchup? Because I assume that this matchup is good for Charizard.
Okay, Benny's list was actually better against Ancient Box because he had Hero's Cape and Lost City. So the Lost City lowers like the amount of Ancient cards Gabriel has in the discard, puts him in the Lost Zone, and then also the Hero's Cape just makes your Charizard practically unkillable. So I think Benny's list is better positioned. We did see Benny draw pretty like suboptimally, so a Barrel, a Cleffa definitely could have helped him. But the Hero's Cape and the Lost City definitely are helpful as well.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then after this tournament, we went to Orlando, right?
Yep.
And for once, we actually sat beside each other.
Yeah, we did. And what round was that? Like 7, maybe?
No, I think we were 3-1.
3-1, so 5.
No. I think we were 3-0.
3-0? Was
We
it
were
round
3-0.
4?
It was round 4. We were 3-0.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I lost to the Lost Box player that round. Yeah.
Yeah, we were 3-0, and I was like, oh my god, this is where it all goes down. And you're like, don't say that. I was like, this is the closest we've ever been to in a tournament. What did you end up playing at the tournament?
Yeah, so kind of funny. I mean, we did a little switcheroo here. I played Charizard to the tournament, just almost a copy-paste of TordZard's list. And I made a video just recently breaking down the deck and why it's good. Link below in the description.
Subscribe below.
Check that out. Yeah, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and subscribe as well. But yeah, I played Charizard. The deck was pretty good. Not incredible. Like, I almost was wondering if the deck was like Lugia level from the Silver Tempest format. It's not quite that good, I think, but...
That's a hot take, because everyone on the internet's like, this is Silver Tempest Lugia.
It's not.
Everyone better know Charizard. But as Rowan, the mathematician, he's done the math.
I did. I was going to make my video title on the other one, the Charizard video, like, oh, is Charizard better than Lugia? So then I started looking into the numbers, and it's not even close. Lugia was like 55% meta share, 35% meta share, winning several regionals in a row. It's not close. Unless Charizard like spikes significantly and wins like the next 5 majors, I can't even compare them right now, honestly. But what did you play?
I mean, we did this true. I played Gardevoir. I watched them play Gardevoir at EUIC. I let you know at EUIC that I was thinking of playing Gardevoir at this tournament, and I made a meta call. I actually had to buy a card for my Gardevoir deck. Shout out to Tricky Jim, it's John Walter, Flex Daddy Righteous. He sold me a English and a French Champions Festival.
Yeah.
Because our group did not have one, so I had to go purchase one, and I cannot use French cards. And also, shout out to Overload Events for letting the people that travel to play in the tournament from Brazil and other places play cards in their own language.
I noticed that, yeah.
I know. Nice. I heard some people trying to like judge call people for playing like non-English cards, which I'm just gonna roll my eyes out. I mean, I come from Magic the Gathering. My whole Magic the Gathering deck was like Japanese, and I know it can be confusing for some people, and I can see how it can be confusing on the junior and senior level as well. But I think on the master level, like with judges being able to give us time extensions and all that stuff, you should be able to call a judge and ask for an oracle text on a card if you don't know what the card does. And when it comes to a Portuguese Paldean Fade Shiny Pidgey that has Call for Family and whatever the other attack is, if your opponent is like calling a judge to try to get like a game lost because they have a Portuguese Pidgey, like that, I think that's against the spirit of the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like, we can go play in English cards over there. They know exactly what our cards do. I think it would open things up more for the game. It would allow more people to travel. Not that our regionals need to get any bigger and any harder, and we can talk about changes there, but I think that Overload's events, all their events, Toronto, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and now Orlando, which I think you day two'd all of those except Charlotte?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's good. Yeah, great organizer. Gives organizer buff to Rowan over here. But yeah, like the differences in playstyle, seeing them. I know it was unfortunate. You were getting slow played in round 4.
I was, yeah.
I think you're a pet. Like, you always get slow played.
I know. And before we move on, I mean, this the rule about the card languages, like the Pokemon Company and the community, we strive to be like an inclusive space for everyone. And this rule where you can't play foreign cards, it does kind of exclude Latin American players from our events, which
especially
I really don't like.
Home. And English cards are more expensive for them.
Yeah, right. So we're gonna make them buy like, I don't know, probably like $200, $100 deck. Like if you have your Charizard, how expensive is a Charizard deck?
Charizard deck's like $100.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's annoying, right? And then they have to locate all the cards, and
they have to have 2 copies of the deck. Like, just let them play.
Just let them play whatever their native language is. These regionals, with the increased pricing, have become international events, and they shouldn't be restricted to English.
You both still need to beat each other. Doesn't matter what language your cards are. You still have to beat each other. So, Gardevoir, Charizard. You played third boss.
Yeah. I just cut Team Yelcheer for boss. Just don't think that card's very good. Just always wanted it to be boss, or always found myself using it to recover boss. So just play another boss.
No Palpad?
No Palpad. That was the other thought, was just cut the Yelcheer for Palpad. That makes sense too. I just found that there are times where you need to boss a third time, and you have to Pidgeot for Palpad and Pidgeot for boss, but like you only have one Pidgeot, right? So if it was just another boss, you're able to boss 3 successive turns. So that's the reason why not Palpad.
And the reason I love our international players is like they're actually so nice. They don't gatekeep. I can go into my DMs and show you messages from like Pedro in Brazil or Fabian in France and asking him about the Gardevoir deck he played, what changes he would. He almost baited. He said, hey, if you want to beat Stall, you can play Namorous V. And I was like, oh, it prevents the... Yeah.
But it doesn't prevent the Enamorous.
Yeah,
yes.
He baited it. He's like, no. He's like, abort mission. Abort
Doesn't
mission.
work.
But was definitely able to ask him a lot of questions. You can read on the replies on Twitter. If you're trying to become a better player, you see someone play a deck, if there's a lot of replies, read it, because I know a lot of people were like, oh, I'm just not having success with Gardevoir. And I said, are you going first? Are you going second? They're like, I'm going second so I can TM Evo, but you have to be going first in that deck. And it took me reading the messages to understand that and then playing it in the tournament. And a lot of people are trying to play the Gardevoir deck like Charizard, Gardevoir, not Charizard, Bibarel.
Charizard,
so
Bibarel,
many cards just
Zard.
going,
Okay,
like Bibzard, and it's just not played like that. To me, the deck is played like the Zoroark decks of old. That's why I think I really liked it. I feels like certain parts are like Lycanroc, where you have combos, and then also when you have all your Curlias and you have your attackers, your opponent has to decide whether they're going to go after your draw engine or if they're going to go after your attackers. And your attackers all are very strong and can inflict a lot of damage to your opponent. A lot of people are like really worried about Lost Vacuum. I mean, every deck plays a Lost Vacuum. You're going to get hit by a Lost Vacuum, so just playing around that. And I had a great time. Like this regional, I did not have a single opponent that I felt was a bad experience. Like every single opponent over 15 rounds. And spoiler alert, I lost my 10th win-in of the season. What? Yeah, in round 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where I made a mistake because I was rushing. But I won my 11th win-in of the season and was able to finally make a day 2, 378 days since my last day 2.
Mm-hmm. Which is not like you've been counting or anything.
Not that I went online and looked how long ago it was, but I had a lot of fun. And day 2, playing on day 2, the opponents, just the magnitude and the feeling of your matches on day 2, it is like, that is why you want to play. The competition goes up a little bit more. People are it's not a different level, but it's just like it just feels different.
I think it almost is like a different level. I find in day 2 my opponents are much more calculated and calm. Just their energy is very serious. A lot of my opponents in day 2 like weren't really speaking much, which I do as well. It definitely feels like a more competitive environment, which I like. It feels cool.
I had to play against a lot of Zoomers like you on day 2, and like some people that I didn't know in the scene before. Like Jared Grimes has done a lot of really good things for Pokemon. Sat down against him round 1, and he drew everything in game 3, but he was just like, I was losing, but I had a great time. And I think that means something in Pokemon if you're losing and you have a great time. And then I just played against like some Zoomer kids like Parker Martin, Zach Cohen, and Abon Ahmed.
Oh yeah.
And Abon's like, oh, you should have borrowed my my world's like top 8 Champions Festival. I was like, oh wow, nice flex, you top 8 in world. Like
you should be like, give it to me right now.
Yeah,
I'll play it against you right now.
You top 8'd, but the young group of these kids that get to play a lot of Pokemon like yourself are just so good, because it wasn't like that before. Yeah. Before I was like playing against people like my age on like day 2, and now it's just so varied, and I feel so old, and everyone's better at Pokemon, and I'm just sitting there just hoping that I'll draw the cards that I need.
I mean, you went 10-4-1. That's not a bad record.
I went 10-4-1 for 71st place.
I know. I was just going to start talking about that. That is absurd, personally, to me, that 31 match points doesn't get prizing. I mean, we saw 36 match points bubble out of cut, which is crazy to me as well.
And you, what happened to you?
Yeah, I the 33 match point bubble out of top 32. That sucked. I was 33rd place.
That's insane.
Yes, that was insane.
That is insane that the level that you play at, and you angrily opened 18 packs.
Oh my gosh, the 18 packs is just like, Come on, Pokemon. At least give me a full booster box so I can like put it away and sell it one day. 18 packs? Like I can't even sell 18 packs. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had fun playing.
Yeah, I think... Okay. Do you think the format is in a good place?
Like the tournament structure?
No, not the tournament structure, just like from playing Pokemon. Because I never felt like... So I played against Charizard. I actually beat Charizard 4 times. I played against Future Hands. And I actually want to take this moment to shout out my round 9 opponent. We gentleman's agreement. They're also going for their invite, Roberto Lozada. And it could have been seen as an indeterminate situation, but I felt that I was pretty ahead, and I know that he didn't want to do it, but he was the bigger person, and he did concede so that I could make day 2 and honor the gentleman's agreement, so I wouldn't be in day 2. So everyone that's honoring your gentleman's agreement, great job. So Future Hands, thank you, Roberto. Future Hands, Charizard, Chen Pao I played against, which is like the big decks. I didn't play against Lugia once. I played against Dialga. There's Dialga out there, which if you're playing Dialga, dexterity is very important. Like, there's so many actions in that deck. I tied Dialga.
Because there's just so many actions. Even though they like, take extra turn and just like go.
They never start Chronos till the game he won, he start Chronos as his last attack. Yeah.
That's like not the point.
I just prevented the start Chronos. Wait, you can start Chronos and Mimikyu?
What?
You can't start Chronos and Mimikyu.
Oh, you can't start Chronos and Mimikyu. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have much time to find a boss and stuff.
How does he kill Mimikyu? Zamazenta? Metang?
Oh, Metang.
Metang? Is Mimikyu weak to steel?
There was a Zamazenta in the deck. Mimikyu is weak to steel.
Okay.
But you need 3 energy to attack with Metang.
Oh, so it's like pretty crap.
Yeah. So I didn't really see it, like, actually when I go through, and then I played against H Box, and then an Arceus variant. But other than that, I didn't see any like the only rogue deck I played against was Metagross. How about you?
I played against a Spathro one time. That was cool. I think that matchup's actually favored for Charizard. Like, I used Heat Tackle and I killed 2 Flittles, and then once he went down to 3 prizes, I went in with Radzard with 3 fire energies on it, I think was the number I had, because the Espathra boosted it by 1, and then I went to 2 prizes, and then I just rare candied 1 Charizard for my last 2, and it felt really good. I did that 2 games. So I don't know. Shout out Braden Alfred. He's been rocking the deck. I think he had a good run in day 2 again here in Orlando. I know he made day 2 in EUIC as well, but I think your deck might be alive, Braden. I don't know.
He's such a good player.
He is a great player.
I think he's very underrated. We spent some time with him in Brazil, and I can just say that just seeing his finishes, like a bunch of 9th places, he comes up with decks that he likes, and he's not playing things just for the meta. And I don't think he's building decks to beat the meta. He's just like building decks that he wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, he made a bunch of Arceus decks in a row, and I think that's just out of a love for Arceus. Now I guess he's decided... I'm surprised he's not on the Charkius wave, because that deck seems to be doing pretty well, too. I mean, we saw Julian make 17th place at UIC. Still great finish. And then I believe there was another one here in Orlando with a similar placement. I know Joe Turrentine was...
No, that was Tina.
Oh, that was Tina.
Yeah,
okay.
The big thing about Tina is that the Manta group had 5 players on a 56-card Arceus Tina deck.
Oh, with 4 shoes.
With 4 shoes, Shashi, Jeff Chow, Justin Kim, Mario Vivas, and there's one more. There's 5 of them. But Neil.
He was on the...
They all made day 2 with Arceus Tina. And I just want to know, how does it beat Charizard?
I don't think it does beat Charizard.
Okay, but 5 people in day 2.
I mean, maybe like the Charizard player doesn't know what's going on or something. I don't know, man. I gotta ask him. We'll ask him. I'll be at the Manta Cup this Friday, so I'll ask him.
Okay, because that is a huge 5 for 5 conversion.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty insane. 5 for 5.
I think you want to play, if you're not going to play Charizard, you want to play a very consistent deck. And I think that's something we've seen from a lot of decks, is that these decks have become very consistent. Box, I don't know if it's super consistent. Chen Pao, I don't know if it's super... I mean, it feels super consistent.
It does feel much better with the Mallow now, right? We saw two of them in top 8 at Orlando, right? Yeah. Fabrizio for sure. And Reagan, yeah, so too, yeah.
And then also for our players, it's really cool to have someone like Fabrizio, because I think he's the number 1 limitless points for Mew VMAX, right?
He is the number one points for Mew VMAX. And for a while, I didn't know who he was, and it annoyed me, but...
I don't think you... I mean...
Obviously a great player, so
when I
no
watched
shame.
Fabrizio versus Jay Jewel, and they put the photo of them, and, like, showed, like, the size difference.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like, by height, and I was, this is David versus Goliath.
Is Fabrizio a first-year master?
I don't think so if he won with Mew before.
Was that last... That was the season, though, right? Or no?
I don't know. Maybe it was last season.
No. He definitely was a master last year. You're right, actually. Yeah.
So the masters, these Zoomers are just getting. So this is top 16 of Orlando. I mean, nothing really stands out here. I mean, shout out to Josh Frank also on the Gardevoir deck. Again, you said Cal Connor. I mean, Cal Connor had a great run with Charizard as well. The Charizard list that you guys were on.
Yeah, at EUIC. Lost his last round.
His range of decks. He can play anything.
Yeah.
He can win with anything.
Snorlax.
He can be the father of anything. You know, that's coming up.
Yeah, that is.
But when you look at this top 8 and you look at Chen Pao, right? And shout out to Grant and Lucas, because Lucas has also been on a crazy season like you. I think he also got the travel award.
Yep. John Eng also, I think, is he 18th there? Or is he... I can't see John Eng. Oh, he's not. Oh, he tied his last round for top 32. Never mind.
Yeah, he just wanted to make sure that he didn't walk away with nothing.
Oh my gosh, this
so,
guy.
When you look at this, I don't think the meta is going to change that much. I mean, Zach came 19th with Lugia, and hypothetically I was saying to you that, like, Lugia looks like a very, very good deck against Charizard, but you also do not think that it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, if you get the perfect setup as Lugia going, you are probably favored. I don't know. I played against Lugia 3 times, and I only lost once. And the only reason I lost once was because Gibby hit Chinchino plus Boss off of Roxanne. And so if that's the only way I'm losing, I feel pretty comfortable in the matchup. I don't think the deck's very good. It doesn't beat Champao either. So if you're going to lose to Champao, you might as well just be playing Zard, in my opinion.
And Zard can still just beat Champao.
Yeah, and Zard can still beat Champao, right? I would feel better with Charizard into Champao than Lugia. Yeah, I just think the deck's not very good. There's just not a reason to play it over Charizard.
The only thing I'm like really confused about too is, so Jake, you were a great player. I played him before. You know, second place with H-Box. H-Box comes first place in seniors at EUIC, and then West Coast Mark Dizon, Cameron Shinoy basically got his invite this weekend with H-Box. Mm-hmm. I still don't know how I feel about this deck, because hypothetically this deck should not beat Charizard.
I know, yeah, I don't think it does beat Charizard. I think it's good into everything that's not Charizard. I mean, Lost Box decks, you got to feel pretty confident against. Champao as well, you're pretty confident, which are 2 of the most prominent decks other than Charizard. But yeah, I don't think you're really beating Charizard, so maybe he just dodged them all. I'm not really sure.
And if you look at the Arc decks, it looks like they are just very consistent. They do the same thing every single game. They set up powerful attackers. Roaring Moon to Dunsparce is a deck that I personally do not believe in, but it has top 8'd here. It has top 8'd at EUIC.
Yeah. I'm on the same page as you. I can't defend Roaring Moon to Dunsparce. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see the Dunsparce in the top 8. I think I saw one of the vendors on stream saying they sold 300 to Dunsparces at Orlando Regionals, so that's pretty amusing to me. But I think just the normal Ancient Box deck is better. I don't think Roaring Moon really adds anything. It probably makes your Charizard matchup more winnable. Otherwise, though, I'd rather just be playing like Gabriel Fernandez's 60 is probably the list I would go for Ancient Box.
And one thing to the people looking is Gardevoir. If you have Flutter Mane and you bring up the Dunsparce, they cannot send it back into the deck, and they cannot retreat a Pokemon that has 3 retreat costs, and they play either like 2 or 3 switch. So you can actually trap, like that Pokemon can be a trap. And then one thing though I found is they always are able to find it to Dunsparce, because they just kept killing their Dunsparce and they just kept bringing another one back. So
yeah, I mean the list. I mean here we can take a look at the list, but I think it plays like 4 artisans, right?
2 artisan. This one played 2 artisan.
Two artisan. But yeah, I guess there is a lot of ways to find Dunsparce in here. And then when you use the Dunsparce, you draw more cards, lets you set up a new Dunsparce. Gives you some resistance to Iono, which I definitely like.
You kind of want to Iono them so they can't find it.
Yeah, but they can also like set up Dunsparce in advance. It's kind of cool.
Yep. And then Lost Box is one. I actually lost to Brandon Dean. I misplayed against him. A very good player. I think he's been playing Tina for a while, but Hunter Butler with just straight Lost Box with the Shaman. This popped up online a bit with the Shaman here. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Shaman instead of like a Hoopa? What is the Groudon? This is new to me.
Yeah, so the Groudon is a response to Iron Hands, I believe. 60 damage for each energy. It probably has additional uses, but I think the main use is to kill an Iron Hands.
3 energy though. You only have to discard 2, but
yeah, but you need 3 on it.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, if you go back to the list, how many fighting energies? 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So Groudon and Shaman kind of cover your bases of killing like Charizard EX and Iron Hands EX, which are the 2 biggest Pokemon you need to knock out, as opposed to just playing Roaring Moon. And then you don't have to do 200 damage to yourself. Overall, I think I like the Roaring Moon better, just because it's more versatile.
Sometimes just the 220 kills a lot of things.
Even that can be good enough sometimes. Then you don't have to play, like, if you look at these energies, it looks pretty scuffed to me. It's like a bunch of different, like 2 waters, 1 grass. Like, a lot can go wrong prizing some energies with this kind of list. I do like that Shaman's a V Pokemon. You put Sealstone on it, that's nice. But I would prefer probably just a more standard list over this. But I'm no Lost Box expert, so this could be optimal. I don't know.
Yep. I don't think there's anything else that's super crazy from here.
Andrew, there's the Dialga V-Star deck. Top 32. That's pretty crazy to me. I wonder how this happened. I know, shout out my brother Grayson. He's an avid Dialga V-Star enjoyer. I had played him one night with Charizard and like 6-0'd him, and then he did not like the deck anymore. So I don't know if this deck beat Charizard. I can't imagine it did.
You can charge up the Mew with a Metang.
Can you do that?
Yeah, Metang is any Pokemon that you like.
Okay, so you can power up the Mew, I guess. Yeah. Copy Charizard.
And they play 3 bosses. You can like Greninja your opponent's stuff. I just think it feels fragile at times. He doesn't play TM Evolution.
No. Wow. Listen, I don't mind that. His card's a little slow.
So he's just straight consistency.
What does Beldum's attack do? It looks like it might have some relevant text on there.
It's like the Vulpix, Alolan Vulpix, but it's just search your deck for a card instead of the Pokemon, and you need 1 energy.
And you put it on top. That's not bad. That's relevant, right? It's pretty good.
Let's get a little tutor.
Mm-hmm. And a 1 retreat cost. That is I didn't realize there was that Beldum. That looks like a good Beldum.
Yeah, it's from Silver Tempest.
Cool.
So I think the format was really good. I enjoyed the tournament.
I like the format.
I think that your deck has to be consistent. There's not too many decks to know your matchups either, like last format. Like last format was, but like Mirai, like there was a huge spread of decks, and we kind of seen the meta as maybe like 5 or 6 true decks right now. No stall.
Yeah, no stall in the top view. I mean, here we can go over to the statistics. Without PokeStats, this has become my favorite source of stats. But yeah, you can see. Looks like maybe down to like here is relevant. So it's like Charizard, Champao, Future, Tina, Arceus, Lugia, Lost Box Moon.
Yeah, there's not even anything super close to the amount of Charizards that there were. So I think that's very important to say. Before we sign off and go to Talk Juniors, I do want to thank. We had some listeners come up and say hi to us. We always love that. Corey from Oklahoma was cheering me the whole day. He was like, "Man, if you're going to be in, you're winning it. I'm going to find the guy. I'm just going to make sure they don't make the table." So, and I got a lot of messages and a lot of like people reaching out to make the day too. So I just want to know everyone's thankful. I think that's their biggest thing to do this podcast is to share our love of Pokemon with people. When people share that love back, we really like it.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Looking at juniors and seniors, before we go into the other tournaments here, when we look at EUIC, and I want to look at EUIC before we go in, and we look at kind of the deck spread, Prince won LAIC with Entei Valiant, which no one was very prepared for, and it was a very good meta call. And then Johan kind of does the same thing, winning with Lost Zone Gudra over here. His opponent did have some trouble, and Lugia was a bad matchup, but he practiced this matchup a lot. And when you look for a deck for the first tournament of a new format with your junior or your senior, if they're not at the top 16 or stipend chasing, a lot of the times it's really good to give them a very consistent deck that's going to do the same thing every single time, right? So here we see Kingsley. He had the Australian Reggie Lucky version build, so he definitely practiced that. He's one of the best players in that region. Drake, he's won an IC. He's been in a final of an IC. He's come back here. He's been playing a lot of table tennis. Keep playing your table tennis, Drake. Ping pong's really fun, but Lost Box, he's played a lot of Lost Box. So they went to things that they really like to play, and then something like Tina is also so consistent to give to your junior in a major tournament because you, again, Trinity Nova, Trinity Charge, Lost Impact. I'm going to Iono, I'm going to Judge, I'm going to boss every turn, right? And when you predict the metagame, something like Snorlax here, we only see one Charizard deck in top 8, right? So by having something like Snorlax, which is made to beat Charizard, and same thing with us picking, say, Banette Gardy, it also was made to like beat Charizard, right? Or playing Charizard with the Regieleki to win the mirror. So being able to see the format and go, I would have said Lugia was a very good pick, but in testing, I found it was so clunky and coin flips that I would not have wanted one of the kids I coach to play and have their tournament decided on coin flips.
Yeah, the coin flips of Lugia are rough. And not even just the coin flips, but sometimes your hand is just unplayable, especially in the finals. We saw just the chops were not hitting the discard, and there was no turn 2 Summoning Star. That's the name of it, Summoning Star, yeah. But yeah, we see a lot of consistent decks. And the other thing that is interesting is there's actually not that much Charizard,
That made the top. There was definitely a lot of Charizard played. There was we saw a lot of Charizard play. And one thing, too, is it's these kids, like, our Masters is tough, but it's tough here, too, because you see when it comes to that last round before top 8, you see a lot of heads on the table, lots of tears. And having to deal with that through a tournament just goes and shows, like, how much it means to them, too, at such a young age.
Yeah, and they have to go 6-1-1 to make cut, which is pretty crazy. I mean, in Masters, you got to go 6-2-1 to play the next day, and in juniors and mostly seniors as well.
And you're whiffing at 6-1-1,
and they're
right?
whiffing, too, right? So, realistically, you got to be 6-0-2, which is just never lose a game. That's
also
very
notice
difficult.
no Chen Pao, right? That's the one thing I want to point out here as well.
Pao. And looking at all those decks, Chen Pao looks very good to me. I think you're favored into potentially everything on here, actually, except maybe Block Locks. That doesn't seem very good, but
we'll see if it goes in. And then when we look at seniors, I wonder if, again, seniors now are willing to kind of like beat each other and try to metagame each other.
Yep.
But here you see the 2 H box decks, and obviously Gabriel is playing at a level above people. And then you see Benny again, so another Charizard, Regieleki, so if people weren't ready for it in the mirror. But we're seeing two Arctinas, right?
Just a consistent deck, right? Fairly easy to pilot. Arc Energy turn 1, you get your board going, you do similar things every game. Just a strong deck. Great choice always.
So going into more of our North American kind of level here in Orlando, when we look at the juniors, and this is, thank you, Poke.ovh, so you can kind of see where we get some of our information here to look at the stuff. I mean, you can see here, again, H box comes back in, right?
In the junior division now, right?
Yep. No Arctina.
No.
But then we actually see our first Future Hands deck.
Yeah.
And Chen Pao, which you said would have been a good call based on the stuff that was there, right? So surprisingly that Lost Tina, which I heard it does have a good Charizard matchup.
It does. Yep. I agree. It is cool to see the 2 Lost Tina decks. I mean, Eric, congratulations on getting finals. It's one of my students. Big Tina enjoyer. And Tina looks pretty well positioned in this meta as well. Of course, it is pretty weak into those Ancient Box decks, though. So if Ancient Box is going to be popular, then maybe Tina will go down in the future.
When I look at a meta like this, I think Future Box is actually such a great play, right? Like against the Ancient Box decks, you're hitting them. You can take 2 prizes against Charizard if you get lucky enough to get your start and go, aim for your 2-2-2 or your 1-2-3 or 1-3-2 prize trade. And against Tina has a charge really fast to be able to KO an Iron Hands. They don't have, say, the Hoopa EX in their deck. And Chen Pao you can just arm press a Chen-Pao with an Iron Hand. So I think looking at this, that's like one of the decks that I would look for something in this meta.
Yeah, I mean, any meta where Charizard's not going to be super dominant, that's a great place for future hands to come in and capitalize on that. So, yeah, future hands could definitely be a good move heading forward. Also, C-Pow also looks great again into this. Maybe not so great, actually. It's not very good into Ancient Box. Okay, never mind. I'll get off my C-Pow hype for this one.
I think for this, too, is there's probably a lot of Charizard that didn't make it. So for parents that just think, hey, Charizard's the best deck, I'm going to give Charizard, my child Charizard to play. There is a difference when you give them something that's very structured. But when you're playing a Charizard deck that has, say, the Regieleki or the Tord build, there's a lot more intricacies in the deck that the concept might be harder to explain. Not that your junior or your senior won't understand it, but just for the point that like, picking up a deck just because it won, and I know it's very easy for someone like Liam, who's very good, and he wants it more than everyone else, right?
I think the willpower just got him there.
The willpower is going to bring it in, but for your juniors, willpower or not, if you don't know if you're supposed to bring up Cleffa, if you don't know if you're supposed to call for family, if you don't know if you're supposed to put Rotom down that matchup, or when do you Turo it, then it's really tougher because the number one deck that everyone should be playing against is
Charizard, right? Everyone knows how to play against you, right? Yeah, that's definitely a disadvantage, is to have people well practiced against your deck. Sometimes wacky decks do well in Masters, but even more so in Seniors.
Don't hold your breath because we're definitely going to see that. Because like when we look at the finalists,
oh my gosh, and like the Pidgeot Control, Arc Armorus. I mean that one's a bit more standard, but yeah, Espathra making the finals here.
Espathra making Evan P coming in with the Espathra against Tina, which I think Espathra is probably not as good versus Tina as it is versus. I mean, Tina's you just lost impacted, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a Flutter Mane maybe, so that can help you make them hopefully to draw. But otherwise, yeah, you're not very good into a Tina.
Yeah, you have Benny back on his control deck here. Didn't run it back on the Charizard. Tristan C, just totally consistent deck. When it comes to seniors and watching you play as a top senior when we were traveling, seniors is always going to have a pool of 20 seniors that are tough. And you can look at this top 16. You look at Camille, who had 9th and 10th at EUIC and didn't get in off that. You look at Remy, who as a junior was a 2-time international champion, also top 8'd the biggest regional of all time for seniors. You have Polaris, who won an international as a senior and is always in the hunt. You have Owen Dalgard. You have Benny. You just look through the Lucas Oldale. I don't think he was at this tournament, but you have a pool of about 20 that takes 6 out of the 8 spots, right?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to break in as a senior, and you might not be a last year senior, you might be a first year senior, like playing that consistent deck, I think is more important than trying to beat the top players trying to metagame each other or find something different, right? So while you might have like an Evan that, takes it and is like, hey, I'm going to make the call, I'm going to play Espathra. When someone like Tristan, who's just a very good player, who's like, hey, I'm going to play Tina, very consistent, I'm going to do the same thing every single game. Or like someone like Hayden, who's like, I'm just going to play Tina with Arceus and just charge up, versus someone like Owen that's going to play Charcadet in their deck. That's the difference. Like Owen's playing Charcadet because, hey, this might be the best call for this tournament. People might not be ready for it. I'm just going to come in and just win the tournament, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit in seniors, and I think a lot of people in the seniors division overlook the value of just having a good deck. I see a lot of lists with too many tech cards, they're trying to beat every matchup, where there's a lot of merit in just playing a consistent deck and relying on maybe just being better than your opponent to win games. Especially in the early rounds, your opponents will make mistakes, which you can capitalize on. So I love to see people just playing, like Charizard is probably the pinnacle of consistent, strong deck. Even some of these counter decks, if you play well, you can beat. So I like to see the Charizard. I also love to see Arctina. Again, the deck's super consistent.
It's looking at the same thing. If we put 5 people in Masters from our area that played 4 trekking shoes in their deck, there has to be something in this deck. I think it's being slept on. I'm being selfish because I would like people to play this deck more because, Mimikyu kind of walls them and they have to shred, and then you can just kind of get them with a Screamtail or a Drifloon or something.
Anything. You can even, if you do 7 damage counters, then you can get them with EX.
I actually think Gardevoir might be a good call for seniors for the next tournament, just looking kind of this field. You have the opportunity to beat any of these decks. They play Pokemon League headquarters. They play Espathra on you. I mean, Screamtail, Drifloon. You just put 3 energies from your Gardevoir.
Yeah.
You're taking them down.
Also, Seapow looks incredible into this meta as well. I mean, Charizard. I mean,
if you play against,
you play
against someone that Rowan coaches, there might be a chance that they're playing Seapow. Just
maybe. This deck might be a little good. Just a little bit.
So, all right. Going back over, I think, before we close out on this and we really see, I just want to talk about just your limitless pace. Let's just
okay, you're gonna take a look at the list.
Any changes you would make? Collapse Stadium still the best. Turo, 2 Turo seems like it's completely standard now. You played 2 Charmeleon.
I did not feel like getting devoed. Also, it's nice to make 1 Prizer board states with Charmeleon and not a Charizard on your board. That's pretty important. And of course, I'm running the Heat Tackle one so that you can kill Mimikyu against Gardevoir, because a lot of people seem to be talking about that online.
Yeah,
better than I thought it would at UIC, so that was a little bit on my radar there, and I think definitely worth playing.
Moving forward,
yeah, absolutely. I think this is actually the optimal 60. I don't like the Yalchier. The only thing is maybe you want a Jirachi. I did lose to Lost Box twice, and I don't think people will stop playing that deck, so...
that's crazy.
What?
Just, there is no Jirachi in your deck.
Yeah, there's no Jirachi. I don't even know if you beat Turbo Lost decks with Jirachi. They just have so many options. They got Roaring Moon kills your Charizard, Raikou kills your Pidgeot.
Well, the consensus would be is you have to attack them and then Iono them, right?
Yeah, that is the plan. Iono, Roxanne, obviously very strong cards against them. Yeah, letting them Sableye you is just too easy. It's just 1 energy, so maybe a Jirachi needs to come in. I'm not really sure what the cut is. Maybe Choice Belt.
I had the pleasure of watching William and Pedro playing the Mirror, and Pedro Pertusi, I know why he wins regionals, because he got Iono to 3 and the first card he drew off the Iono was a Roxanne. So I can absolutely tell how he wins regionals. But their list, very interesting, geared towards the Mirror. Mm-hmm. They do have a Jirachi, 2 boss. They put the Palpad in. They cut Yelchier. They don't have the Bibarel, so that's how they have more spaces. And you would always play with the Bibarel?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You need the Bibarel. So many matchups. It's just I don't even consider it for a matchup. It's just the deck needs a Bibarel. So many games, your Pidgeot dies. You can't make another one. You need some kind of draw power, and Bibarel is just perfect.
So they have the 2 Devo in their deck, and they have the Miss Energy, so you can Miss Energy your Pidgeot to avoid the Devo. Speaking of Devo in Evolution Pokemon, I played against an Artibax.
Oh.
I played against an Artibax this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Some respect for TM Devo going on.
Because if Charizard has the Devo, when you take the knockout, they either have to knock out your active Chien-Pao, or they try to Devo you, but they can't Devo you if you have
an Artibax. That's
Artibax,
true,
because then you just return them.
Yeah, the Artibax is kind of slow.
It's interesting. I don't think I'm but I think the people are trying these things. So this deck, I think it's tuned for the Mirror. I know that I wish I knew how much that they beat for the Mirror, but this is also something that if you're going to a League Cup and you think there's going to be a lot of Charizard, and sometimes there is merit to not playing the same 60 as everyone else, because Liam just picking up the deck and doing well, that deck might be the number 1 deck to bring people day 2, and it's the number 1 stock deck for people to play. If you tune your deck to beat the stock deck and you just lose a little bit of that consistency and that late game, it actually might just let you win those smaller tournaments.
Yeah, that's true. Over less rounds, is that true? Yeah, I would say over less rounds it's less important for your deck to be consistent. Maybe that's not true. No, actually that's not true. The rounds are so valuable. You definitely want to be more consistent, because if you lose twice, then you're just done.
But if you play the Mirror,
I would just copy paste my list, honestly, or the Tord list. I don't
you
like
just
this.
really like your list, eh?
Yeah, okay, Eerie is a lie. I swear, if you ever spend your turn Pidgeotting for Eerie, and then your opponent just shows you a hand with no items, you're like, wow.
Eerie is, my brother had it like perfectly, because when I Eeried him, he's like, wow, you timing me. Eerie is like a lurker in Counter-Strike or Valorant, that when it's done at the right time, it's just gonna like snowball. But if you know someone's gonna be behind you and lurking, and you turn around and you get them, then they're just down a person, and you're gonna snowball and win that round, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
That's why I didn't play it in Gardevoir.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a gimmick. Like if your opponent plays into it and you know when to do it, sometimes it works out.
The thumbnail's gonna be Eerie, and it's just gonna be you being like, stop with the Eerie.
Yo, why? I got Eerie at a League Challenge the other day, and like it was a good Eerie. I had rare candy.
I got Eerie at the League Challenge too, and I just showed him my hand. I was like, oh, you discarded a Poffin. Cool.
It did like nothing. Like, oh, okay, -1 candy. Cool.
Yael, who's here in Toronto, he was playing he hand trimmered me at one point.
Huh? In Charizard?
In Charizard, he had a hand trimmer, so I guess he cut the Eerie for a hand trimmer. I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yo, imagine like your opponent's playing Lost Box, you hand trimmer their like 13 card hand, and then bang, Eerie. Yeah, that would be nasty, but
I mean, they're gonna hold all their stuff, so it's cool that we're still having that innovation, and then just going in 71st place, you know, add it to the Limitless page. Oh, I want to tell a story. Oh my gosh, I made a huge mistake, and when I was playing the last round, I had a game loss. And Abon was like, why are you even playing the Psyshock routes? And I'm like, hey, I want the ability to have the chance to beat anything. The routes, Psyshock, and the routes from Silver Tempest with Memory Skip, routes got reprinted in Paldean Fates. So I thought I clicked the Memory Skip one, but it hit the reprint of the routes. So when I got deck checked, absolutely my fault for not double checking my list. Please double check your list. But that's why I had a game loss going into the last round, and you need 3 games against Future Box to like give you a chance to go after them. So this second routes is wrong.
Should have been a Memory Skip.
And I would not even been in that predicament if I just played 3 Teleport Kiss routes. Yep. And 1 Memory Skip. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll need to Psyshock something. But you don't need to Psyshock anything because your Drifloon hits for 30. Not that attack.
Oh,
you you'd rather just charge up your Drifloon than a route.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so basically don't play Psyshot routes, guys. That's the lesson to be learned. And double check your deck list.
Double check your deck list. This deck list, pretty clean. I really wanted a second Palpat to boss. I never actually needed in the tournament, so I didn't put that Palpat in. Churro was great. Second Earthen Vessel. So Joshua Frank, Cal Connor, Fabienne, Stefan, and Piper, they all only played 1 Earthen Vessel. And to me, the Earthen Vessel is a training wheel because there were so many times in testing that I didn't have enough energy in my discard that I put in the second Earthen Vessel to make sure I can do it. Absolutely need 3 counter catcher for Charizard. I was looking at cutting down counter catchers. You can't, because you either need to set up a Mimikyu play to boss up a Bidoof or a Pidgey if they haven't evolved with your Mimikyu in the Charizard matchup. That's really important. And there are just multiple times where you just have to counter catcher, trap something in the active, Iono them, and Scream Tail something on the bench. So that is a must-have in the deck. Champions Festival, worth every penny for me. Okay, it won me a lot of games because Champions Festival allows you, with a Bravery Charm on your Drifloon, to hit 330. So you put 100 on your Drifloon, and with the Bravery Charm, you cannot put another energy because it will KO it, and it will do 300 damage. But if you Champions Festival, it goes down to 90. You're able to put the 6 energy. You're able to do 330. Right? Against Lost Box, also heals energy. But just having that combo piece, kind of like a multi-switch in the old Zoroark Lycanroc deck, to be able to move an energy from your Zoroark to your Lycanroc to take a knockout they're not expecting. That's how I felt about Champions Festival. So either it was getting me a knockout, or my opponent was picking up the card to read it and asking if it was still legal, and it was the most expensive discard to a refinement or an Ultra Ball I've ever played.
How expensive are those Champions Festivals?
I mean, it's over. I got very lucky in what I got mine for, but I would say they're probably 150 US plus.
Jeez.
The Canadian ones are a little cheaper.
The French ones.
Yeah, the French ones that we can play here. So I picked up one of those too, just in case I want to play 2. If you aren't playing at Champions Festival, you can play Town Store. The reason I didn't like Town Store is I do not want to give Charizard Forest Seal Stone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give them an extra thing that they can get there. I also did not want to play Artisan because I do not want to give Charizard any Pokemon. Like, I would love to play Artisan. I would love to have Artisan as another nest ball, but Artisan, like, I'm just going to give Box a Pokemon.
Yeah, just giving Pokemon to anything is not good. You've got all these Pokemon to kind of stymie your opponent's setup. You've got the Klefki, the Fluttermane, even the Mimikyu as well, kind of blocking. So you definitely don't want to be helping.
Klefki is very important because against Future Box, the Klefki comes in, and the Miraidon cannot one-shot the Klefki because it turns off Iron Crowns. So it actually slows them down for a turn. If you cannot get the Klefki, then you need to promote the Mimikyu because then you force them to attack for only one prize instead of two, because they won't be able to KO this with Iron Hands. So then you're able to hopefully get a turn. The issue is your second turn, you're just evolving to Kirlia. You're not attacking, right? So there is possibly putting a rare candy in the deck, but I don't think it's warranted enough. Like, I would like to have a rare candy, but I really just want to have routes to draw cards. Fluttermane, great card, because people had to retreat their Charmanders from the active.
To Infernal Rain, right?
To Infernal Rain. And then versus a Chen Pao deck, you can actually use it to bring up a Baxcalibur. And then Screamtail the Frigibax on the bench. And then they cannot use...
Wait, no, you can't do that. You can't have Fluttermane.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You can't do that.
Sorry, that's the other play. But yeah, if you get the Baxcalibur in the front, you can just damage. They cannot, and you hope that they don't hit it. If not, you want to counter catcher up a barrel and then use Screamtail to go after the Frigibax.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Force them candy backs.
In the past, I would always say you want to go after the Bibarel so you can Iono your opponent late game because they can just set up more Frigibaxes, especially now they're playing 4 candy in their list. But them having to use 2 energy on their Bibarel means that when they use Superior, that's 2 less energy. Like, it's requiring them to use their energies in ways that they
if you're
don't
doing
want.
it over and over, you're taxing their resources a lot. Especially if you were playing like the Eerie in your list, like those other guys. That seems like it has good synergy.
The other thing is a lot of people only play 1 Drifloon. I am not as good as other people at making sure I manage my resources, so that's why I play the 2 Drifloon. And sometimes having 2 Drifloon on your bench just means that, they attack it. Sometimes you have to start a Drifloon too, so it's going to be the first thing that gets knocked out.
And you don't want to have to rod right away.
I don't want to rod. Your rod's very precious because you have to keep bringing up Kirlia, and you always want to be able to set up a Kirlia and a Gardevoir.
What if you cut one of the Drifloons for another rod?
That's also a play, but then you have to heavy ball. I think, speaking of that too, one of the biggest skills right now, and the difference between the better players, and this is something that Abon told me, and I know Abon's going to be listening to this. I am just a podcaster, so I want everyone to know I learned this from him, is if I mischeck my prizes or whatnot, I would still use the heavy ball to check. But if you're a good player, you're just going to get rid of it. So you're effectively losing a card. Well, I'm just it's tail map.
Yeah, it's nice. All 6 now.
Yeah, so I think that's an important part. And if you're playing heavy ball in your deck, please have a notepad. Please write down your prizes. Help yourself. So the deck's good. I think I'm going to keep playing it. I think it's well positioned. For people that are worried about the lost vacuum, you are going to get a lost vacuum, so you have to know how to play around it. I am considering the second Turo. I think that was a really good piece. Another card I was considering was Pokemon League Headquarters. Again, if you don't have Champions Festival, you could try that too, because your Pokemon are going to get massive energy on it anyway to attack. So the deck is good. Do you think Charizard could ever play 2 vacuum?
No, never. I would never play 2 vacuums.
Yeah, I think the only deck in the format that could actually play 2 vacuums is Future Box.
Yeah, they got a bunch of room in their deck. They could just cut an energy.
So, yeah. Looking at the other parts of the world here, my home and native, not Canada land, Philippines, you see all the Charizard, you see the Dialga here, you see a Gardevoir deck, Rian Famaran, here, he won the last regional. He just won this. He is a mature individual, and I hope one day as I age gracefully like him, I can keep winning at Pokemon, because he is the godfather of Filipino Pokemon. He's still winning, so shout out to him. He let me know that he almost lost to the Gardevoir deck. He won in prizes in time, but everyone everyone is playing Charizard because it's a best of one format and ties are double game loss. So that's why you see this much Charizard. And again, if you're vested in the Charizard mirror and you just know how to play it, you have a higher chance to do well at a tournament when you think there's going to be a ton of Charizard.
Yeah, and the decks that kind of struggle with time, like Lost Box, which I wouldn't like to play against with Zard, they struggle. So that opens the door for Charizard as well. And I mean, look, literally the whole top 8 is Charizard, except for this one Gardevoir deck.
Yeah.
So the Gardevoir deck must have beat at least one Charizard.
Yep. And the thing about this is they did not play Mimikyu.
Wow. Whoa, interesting.
So they
Card's
just
really good.
they were just going on the 2-2, like just trying to take 2 knockouts, 2 prizes every single turn. They also only played 2 counter catcher, but they did play the 1 rare candy. Rare candy is good because then you can get that turn 2 knockout if you need to. But it's also very hard to find that 1 of rare candy, even though you have the Arvin. You want to be evolving, right? So
yeah, you really want to be using Kirlia. Like, even in old format, eventually I went down to 1 rare candy, and it felt good. Like, the cards just kind of meh. When your stage 1 is so good, right?
Yeah. Perth happened. Perth had 257 players, which means they give out points to top 128. 333 would have earned you 40 CP, but I think that's a conversation for another time. This tournament, again, just like our boys with the shoes Arceus, they put in multiple people into top 8 with this one specific Charizard list, which, you know, the Cleffa, the Regieleki, the Prime Catcher, a Devo.
I like the bib line. They kind of merged like the EUIC Control Zard deck with Tord's list. You know, they got the Cleffa, the 1/1 bib, which I think is just like super staple. Like, you definitely need to have Cleffa and 1/1 bib in this deck. Really good for the draw engine. I don't know about all these other cards like TM Devo, Regieleki. Something to note about the Regieleki is that at the end of the game against Champao, when you attack with Radiant Charizard, you can bench your Regieleki, and then they can't use Iron Bundle. Because without the Regieleki, if they Iron Bundle you, all your Pokemon are either 2 prizers or can get hit by Iron Hands. But if you play the Lecky, when they bundle you, you can send it up and block them from taking 2, which is actually my favorite use for this card, not even using the attack. So
Do you think the Lucky being in the deck now is why play control if Charizard can just be control?
What do you mean?
Like, it invalidates people really playing control.
Oh yeah, like this Regieleki totally invalidates like Snorlax stall. Pidgeot can actually beat this Regieleki by attacking with Luxray. You know, every time you Regieleki, they Luxray. And then they can play like Silenes and Misfortune Sisters, and they're like making progress on decking you out while you're not doing anything. So that deck can still do well, but I think it does invalidate like Block Laxia.
When you look at this Charizard deck and you kind of look at the meta, do you think that this and kind of a similar build to your build are going to be the 2 defining builds, and that those are the 2 that people should be testing against? Like, this has 2 Nest Balls.
I think it's definitely worth testing against this build of Charizard. It's worth testing against a build with Max Belt as well, and maybe one with Hero's Cape, because people will play them. Personally, I think every version is just worse than like the version Liam and Tord have won with. I think it's just the most consistent. I think it's the strongest into Mirror. Like, I don't think Devo, Regieleki, Eerie, Max Belt as well, I don't think they really do anything in Mirror if your opponent knows how to kind of play around them and has Tord's
Yeah, especially you having 2 Charmeleon.
Yeah, like, you're just not really getting Devo'd a lot.
You put a Mist Energy in your deck, okay.
Yeah, when you Devo, you don't take prizes, so you can kind of lose the prize trade. And especially, like, if decks are playing Bibarel, if you're playing Max Belt, like, killing the Pidgeot is way less valuable.
What's your A-Spec thought in Charizard?
It's just got to be Prime Catcher.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
The biggest reason Prime Catcher is so good is because at the end of the game, if you're not playing Prime Catcher and you want to attack with Radzard, say you and your opponent are like maybe both going to 2 prizes and you want to not use Charizard EX, so you attack with Radzard, and then what do you do on your next turn? Now you can't do Turo, right? But most of the time you're going to need to boss because you probably need to kill a 2 prizer on your next turn. They're not just going to give it to you. So So if you use Radzard and then they just kind of like pass with a 1-prizer.
But if my willpower is enough.
If your willpower
if
is
my
enough,
willpower is enough, they might just give it to me.
they might. Maybe your Radiant Charizard magically flies out of the active and then back into the active to attack. But no, I think Prime Catcher is just too good.
Prime Catcher is so annoying because every single turn against a Charizard deck playing Gardevoir, they're killing a Curlia. And when they have Prime Catcher instead of Boss, I'm malding. I'm like, how? Like, how is it this one? So, yeah, I think it is going to be the defining card in these decks as we go through the format.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Until Unfair Stamp comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited for that card. That'll be cool,
very excited for Unfair Stamp.
Both of those cards let you Gust and Hand Disrupt.
Yep. So you cut an Iono and you add a Boss
and
into
then
your
you play
card
Unfair
deck.
Stamp.
Yeah, you play Unfair Stamp. The question is, A-Specs. They do say you can play one per deck. So does this mean I can play one of each per deck?
Yeah, definitely. You should try that tech. Come to a regional.
That seems like the play.
Yeah, that does seem like incredible. Why has no one thought of that?
Oh my
Isn't that
gosh, we
concerning?
broke the format. All right, and then Singapore, our Eastern brothers here. They also had a regional, and Tina, making it the first one that's not won by Charizard in this format, wins the tournament. Brian Kwan. No,
what the heck?
Hey, we take out the Banets and you just put in a Raikou and an Iron Hands and,
That's interesting. It's like Tina / Lost Box.
Yeah, you Abyss Seeking and then you set up one of those other attackers.
You can use Raikou to kill Pidgeot.
You have Iron Leaves. This might be a good League Cup deck.
Honestly, this looks kind of cool if you're a Comfy enjoyer.
This, Lent is over, so I can play Lost Box again. My Lenten promise to Jesus is over about playing Lost Box, so...
What was the promise?
I said for 40 days I wouldn't play Lost Box in a sanctioned event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sounds like not long enough. You should have promised like forever, man.
But this deck looks kind of cool. No Roxanne's.
I think it's kind of crazy that he's playing water energies in this. I would much rather see an extra Psychic and Grass. Iron Leaves needs
more
2
consistent.
Grass. Sableye needs the Psychic.
I think I would rather see, an extra Psychic, an extra Grass, and then you play just one water to bait them.
I don't mind that.
Right? You just get in and they have to play around and shit. But people have been cutting Manaphy.
Yeah, like Champao decks don't have Manaphy in them really. Okay, maybe the water energies are good then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard though because it's very like the Iron Leaves is very energy intensive because you need the 2 Grass.
It is.
Yeah. But I can see this deck like actually doing some damage.
Yeah, try it out at a League Cup, and we'll talk about it after you do.
I think like, and that's what I mean. I like the start of the formats. There's a lot of innovation, and then decks like this can catch people off hand. It actually came 55th place at EUIC as well.
It's also probably Raikou's probably pretty good into Lugia.
Yes.
Which is otherwise a bad matchup, right?
Yes. And then this Charizard, they love Charizard Bibarel, so this one doesn't play the Pidgeot. And this plays an NTV. I don't know about the NTV. I'm not sold on NTV.
No, I think just play the North American or TordZard list. I think that's...
Yeah, and then stock
Tina, Ancient Box.
Yeah,
just solid decks.
If you want to be consistent, play Artina. I just want to see now, if we look at this, does it have first, 28th, 52nd, 66th, 158th?
I feel like most people took Tord's list and cut the Yautja. So I don't think too many people are literally copying his 60, but...
Yeah, 59 of the 60.
Probably 59, 58, yeah.
Yeah. So, we want to shout out this Pokemon
this is really
PokeHiveTCG. So, all about helping people make decisions and become better players and sharing our experience share. So, I actually found PokeHive, and this is great data. Like, data really helps you make better decisions. So, this is taking the information from Perth and from Orlando day 2, and Charizard had a 20% representation over those 2 tournaments, much higher in Orlando. But when we look here and we look at the win rate of the deck, almost 54%, that's really good. Tie rate, pretty high, especially in the mirror. How do you learn to play the mirror faster?
It's the same way you learn to play anything faster is you practice, right? You sit down, you play the mirror. And also play the mirror against different people, because I've seen different people play it different ways. I've tested the mirror a lot, and then I played against Liam Halliburton, and he attacked with his Pidgeot, and like I just never saw anyone do that before.
Oh, that's what the Brazilians did.
I know, really good, really good.
Especially when the Pidgeot has Mist Energy.
Oh yeah, but then the best part is that your Pidgeot dies, which like you want your Pidgeot to die so that you don't have 2 prizes on the board.
What do you mean you want your Pidgeot? Don't you want to be able to search the card you want every turn?
Like, it's nice at the start, but at the end, like once your opponent's at 2 prizes and
It's
you're
a
at 2,
liability.
it's a liability. You know, it dies in one shot to Charizard EX. They're gonna win the game on it. You want to go to a 1 prize board state. So if you just like attack with it at the start, they kind of have to kill it. They can't afford to like boss over and over.
And you can boss and KO a Bibarel with it.
Yeah, exactly. You can. Charmeleon also dies, and if you just punch a Zard for 120, and then your opponent takes 1 prize card,
You return the Zard.
you return the Zard with your Zard for 210, right? So, really smart. I wish I knew to do that, but yeah, shout out Liam Halliburton for knowing to do that.
So, look. Smashes Ancient Box. Smashes Roaring Moon to Dunsparce.
Future hands.
Future Hands makes sense. Chen Pao, much closer than people think. Tina, an Arc Tina being 50% against the best deck in the room when you can set up and run over other decks. I mean, I think that's the thing to play the deck. 38% against Gardevoir.
Yeah, that's
Lost
like
Box.
surprisingly low to me, honestly. I think if you know what you're doing and you've practiced the matchup, I think Gardevoir is actually favored. I don't know. What do you think?
I beat all 4 Charizards I played against. I did get destroyed and go 1-2 against Charizard at the League Challenge we played, but best of 1 is a bit different. I think the matchup's going to evolve, and you can have a plan on how to approach the Gardevoir matchup and try to take 3 prizes. But I think Gardevoir can play 2 Turos and just never let you take 2 prizes in a turn and kind of play like a 1 prize. Because, hypothetically speaking, you can set up turns where you can set up 2 Drifloons and a Mimikyu. So
And then get the Gardevoir off.
Get the Gardevoir off, like Iono your opponent, if you get to kill the Pidgeot. And they have to bench Mana, like every Charizard opponent would bench Manaphy against me, which is
to protect
smart.
from Screamtail.
Which is smart, but then it's like Manaphy, Bibarel, Pidgeot, Charmander, Charizard.
You're running out of room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, bad into Lost Box. I mean, even with Jirachi, I think that matchup's still bad. And then when you don't have it, you're getting run over. So, looks pretty
the number 1
standard
deck.
to me.
We look at Chen Pao here. Destroys Arceus Tina.
Yeah, that one's pretty free.
Yeah, I mean, only very small sample size there. But Gardevoir, I was able to beat 1 Chen Pao and then lose to Jared on Chen Pao, and he drew the stones. I would think that they are better, but not a lot. Like, they don't play Cologne, right?
So they can't ninja you.
So if they can't set that up, then you're in a pretty good spot, and then you can trap and Screamtail around.
Mm-hmm.
Lugia seems very good. Chinchino requires a lot of energy.
You have hands to one-shot their Lugia V. That's like the breaking point. And then hands like kills Cincino, just hands.
Yeah, and then hands. I guess too, if you get hands against Gardevoir, your win percentage will go up.
Yep.
Your win percentage will go up, and also annoying with the hands is Prime Catcher.
Yep.
So, but then Charizard, Pidgeot, I mean, yeah, it seems pretty even across the board. Like 17 wins, 19 losses, 3 ties, right? Like, I think this matchup is probably much closer. But do you think it's just Charizard favorite? But you think Chen Pao is the deck to play in the meta? So
yeah, I think it beats. Okay, I think Chen Pao is super even into a Charizard list that plays like Max Belt, Eerie, Devo, Regieleki, stuff like that. But I don't think that is the best version of Zard, which makes me think that C-Pao is really good. Like if you're playing Tord's list, you're probably winning about like 35-40% of the time. So yeah, I think that win rate percentage is probably weighted heavily by people still playing Max Belt.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not always about like the win or losses. It's about how you stack up against the grid. And you can get singles in America from Game Grid, TCG, sponsor of Rowan Stabenow.
That's right.
And if you have the time, itsgametime.ca is our sponsor from Canada. Itsgametime.ca. Use Coach Mark for 5% off. Looking at Tina, win rate is low.
Yeah.
I think people gravitated away from the Banette. I didn't see much of the Banette in day 2. I think if you look at the list, we won't see it. I think that was a one tournament kind of thing. But
wow, this is like looks awful, these stats. I mean, maybe it's because the deck's really hard to play, so the overall stats look fairly poor. I think like the 50% win rate into Charizard is a bit low. I think it's pretty good into Charizard and into future hands as well. You know, you could Requiem and deny their baton. So I think that matchup's good as well.
It looks like the Roaring Moon to Dunsparce is just like you're just tying that matchup. Which
What's
is crazy,
the tie percentage?
40%.
Yeah, that is a lot of tying. I think that matchup is pretty bad. You don't really trade well into the one prize Roaring Moon. As well, Lugia, Gardevoir, bad matchups.
Gardevoir, I barely tied. Like, the deck does not want to tie.
Yo, when we get to the stats, I'm pretty sure Gardevoir has like the highest tie rate.
I did tie.
Just
I
be
just tied
faster.
once.
Just play faster.
I
Just
just
want
played.
it more.
I did want it more. 90% into Lugia Archeops.
Yep.
Yep.
That
That's
sounds
the
about right.
Asian box. Roaring Moon, Gardevoir, like against everything that's not Charizard
Your deck's good.
or Arctina, this deck is just this is Miraidon.
And it's wait, why is it so bad into Lost Box?
Because you attack with two prizers and they can KO you with their two prizers.
Yeah, I guess like Roaring Moon is kind of an issue.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be better into Lost Box, but yeah, the Charizard matchup definitely bad. The Arceus matchup gotta be bad as well.
But look, if you want it bad enough, you can be one of those 10. Like if you actually look, 18, it lost 18 times, but it won 10 times and tied 7 times. So that means 50% of the time, it did not lose to Charizard.
I mean, like, I guess.
Right.
Okay, when I played against Iron Hands 4 times this weekend, I lost a total of 2 games. And both of the games, I went first, started Pidgey, and drew past and got donked. Like, that's literally the only way you can lose.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen, yeah, but not a reasonable. And you need it to happen twice to actually win.
It sucks too because against Chen, like I think Chen Pao is supposed to be a good matchup for it. Lost Box, like Tina, should be like much closer. Like this is the I don't care what you're doing. I only care about what I'm doing sort of deck, and I just want to run you over. And I would not be surprised if this deck wins a major randomly.
I would be. It's hard to win an event when you don't beat Charizard.
So,
like Ancient Box. Like I would be surprised to see it make a final.
Regionals.
I guess that's true.
Right? Like that's what I mean. Miraidon beats Ancient
All right,
Box.
maybe.
I believe.
I don't.
Lugia.
Yeah, bad win rate. Not surprised. Not a very good deck in my opinion. Oh my gosh, look at all the red on there. I don't even, like, even the ones, does it beat Ancient Box? I don't think it really beats Ancient Box.
What do you mean? What's the percentage?
I mean, it's 53, or 54, but like...
But also tied 40% of the time.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's crazy.
Ancient Box actually had the highest tie rate, now I remember.
No, Ancient Box ties a lot because it takes forever to kill people.
Yeah, okay, let's just move on from Lugia. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah, 27% tie rate, that's huge.
But 100% against Tina.
Not bad.
100% win rate against Tina.
Yep, good into Tina, great into Lost Box, which I like.
They 140 HP, 200 HP is a lot on one prize.
These stats actually look worse than I expected.
Also Fluttermane.
Yes, Fluttermane is huge.
Fluttermane is huge.
Just locking them out.
Yeah. Charizard Pidgeot destroyed it.
Yeah. Deck does not beat Charizard, but
Tina attacks faster.
Also does not beat hands.
You know what they can put in is they can put in Slitherwing.
To beat the hands.
And Arceus. That would change its matchup against that.
That's true. That would help.
You put some fighting energy in there. You Sada. Sada is just a great card.
Yeah, it is a good card.
Sada is a great card. Sada is...
The other supporter is like significantly worse. The Explorer.
Yeah. Hapu.
Yeah.
You played that to a Worlds, didn't you?
No, I think we played Bill's Analysis.
Oh, I think that was better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find Custom Catcher.
Yeah. Oh, no, we played Super Scoop Ups.
Great card.
Yeah. Hey, I won Worlds with Super Scoop Up. Both my Worlds run Super Scoop Up.
Yeah. Is it in the format right now? No. Oh, no. Super. What's it called? The Ace-Spec's coming back.
Oh, definitely playing that for sure.
Yeah. So, but this deck, I did lose to this. I beat one, Purple Cliff on it, and then I lost to Vulcan Turtle, but I made a misplay in game 1 and then got donked game 2. I think the match was close. If you can counter catch up Greninja. Because they have a small amount of energy, and then you start Screaming Tail on the bench because they have to find the energy. And if you Iona them at the right time, very good. They do play the drum. I did make a misplay where for some reason I started playing around Prime Catcher, but he had dropped earlier. So
Nice. Yeah, I think this deck's solid, but
I think this is a deck that like is going to have specialists that this is all they play, and they'll just know how to play it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't suggest people to just pick it up and play it for a League Cup.
No.
What we got here? Lost Zone box.
Yo,
oh my
this
god,
win
look.
rate's crazy.
Look at this
What
win
the
rate.
heck?
This beats everything.
Oh, this is nasty. Just doesn't beat Ancient Box, I guess.
It doesn't beat, 50. Yeah. What? Why aren't we playing this?
Yo, one of my opponents, Leandro, played a Cobalion in his Lost Box deck. And I'm pretty sure it's not for Charizard, because he never used it against me. But I think it's to either
Ancient
Iron
Box?
Hands. Yeah, you can Iron Hands the moons, or you can Cramorant kill the moons. So maybe that's a tech if you want to beat Ancient Box with your Lost Box decks. He's at 54th.
Wow.
If you want to check out his list.
How'd you know?
Because I was checking out his list earlier.
Wow. Leandro. Obrigado. Amigo.
That's the tech.
50th.
50th?
Even better.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, there's the tech. Look at that. Cobalion. Bang.
Oh, Hoop is so good.
I know.
So
yeah, Hoop is really
underrated.
good. This, if I was going to take a Lost Box list, like no bias, I did lose to him. And this looks like a pretty sick list to me.
I mean, if they beat you, they have to. I mean, like,
It's got to be good, right?
You're like Caleb Rogerson's so good, he beat you. So you basically came, second to that
I
tournament.
beat Caleb Rogers.
Yeah, so you basically came second at the biggest region of all time.
Like, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Where were we?
We were back to our boy. Yeah, look at this. It beats
This is
everything.
crazy. So, 100%
Especially
into Roaring
Charizard.
Moon.
20 beating Charizard.
Yeah, 62% of the time. That's definitely very good. Solid. Okay, there's no way this deck beats Gardevoir, though, right? Because of Fluttermane.
Yeah, Fluttermane and Klefki.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that, like, low sample size. There's, like, 10 games there. But
Yeah.
other than that, all these stats look pretty accurate. Also, I think it's better into
Well, I mean, it's
Giratina
2
than
and
that.
4 and 3, right? So
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
like
like it's
fine.
basically a tie.
Yeah,
It's push. It's a push.
it's a push.
Yeah, it's basically Gardevoir.
Good into C-Pow, good into hands, because you got the Hoopa.
The Hoopa is very good into Artina.
Yo, this deck is probably underrated, eh?
This is why you listen to Experience Share podcast, because you should be. And the deck that I would be trying is our boy. This is not okay because there's Tina in it, but like something similar to that is probably like very good.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the Raikou the more I think about it in Tina for Lugia and killing Pidgeots. Seems
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, especially. Do we got how many counter catchers does he play?
Probably just one. Yeah, just one there.
Yeah, but even Prime Catcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can like Colress, Force Seal, and then Boss in the same turn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Huge.
great card. And Cramorant's such a monster. Yeah, I would be looking into something in this space. If we actually look, we'll actually see some of the deck lists here. So yeah, the Hoopa, the Mew.
Mm-hmm. This one's got a 2-minute, which is like fine.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's actually good against Charizard because it hits Rotom and Lumineon because Charizard has to use Lumineon now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lumineon's huge.
This is Hunter's
Here's
List.
Hunter's List, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
And then, yeah, just something like boom, boom, these.
Yep. I mean, I'm not a Comfy enjoyer, but if you are a Comfy enjoyer or have been in the past,
Might be worth a try.
Definitely look into these decks.
Yeah. And look, the meta manipulators aren't going to tell you this stuff. Artina. Okay, so it smashes Iron Hands, H and Box. Charizard Pidgeot 50%. I mean, any deck that can take a 50% to Charizard's probably worth playing.
Doesn't beat Tina or Champao or...
But 40%,
Gardevoir.
the 40% is a 50% if you have just that little bit of willpower.
Yeah, the willpower, just 10% buff on any
Just
matchup.
changes it. When you're like a 60-40 or a 55, it just flips it, right?
But what if I just took, like, Lost Box at a 55% win rate, and then willpower to 65% instead of doing this?
Yeah, but you don't want a flower selecting.
I know. I don't have the willpower to flower select.
It's like our friends in Oklahoma City. Like, they need the willpower to leave Oklahoma City, you know? Oh, man. I think be prepared to play against this, too. I think especially at our local. I would not be surprised if there's at least, like, 6 of these at our local.
Yeah, I mean, they all, well, especially at Manta on Friday, they're
5
all
of them.
playing this deck.
This deck's not a real deck? 100% against H and Box.
That's weird. I don't know why. I feel like,
very good against Chen Pao.
oh, low sample size, that's why.
Very good against Chen Pao.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Very bad against Charizard.
Very good into Tina, Lugia. This is like, I feel like this deck is just very similar to Ancient Box, but just like kind of worse.
With a 2-prizer.
Yeah, like why do I
30%
have
tie rate almost, too.
Yeah, like especially if you're still so bad into Charizard, that's got to be the only reason to play
Roaring Moon.
Roaring Moon. And like, yeah, so.
Kind of weird that, I mean, shout out PokeHive, but
Yeah, why is the Roaring Moon riding
the
Dunsparce?
like a skateboard,
What is this animation, bro?
Oh, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. And then what's that? What's that? Oh,
Gardevoir. Yo, that might have even been higher than Lost Box.
No, I think I think it is, but I think the Lost Box actually just has better matchup spreads because this still has like 4 negative. This has 4 negative matchups, and the Lost Box has.
It is higher.
The Lost Box only has 1 negative matchup, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think the Torontonians are playing Ancient Box. But what I do like about Gardevoir and Ancient Box and Charizard, if you look at them, they all have different ways to approach every matchup and win the deck. Like, they can all find ways to actually just win the match.
Yeah. Yeah, and looking at this Gardevoir deck specifically, I mean, it looked like the Champao matchup is bad on here, but you said it's, like, all right? And all these other matchups, like, none of these matchups actually look that bad in my head. I think Future Hands is maybe an issue.
Yeah, so people say Future Hands is an issue. Yeah, I think it's a 50-50. I think it's a 3. You're going to go to 3 games, and whoever just gets luckier, whoever has the willpower to be able to get lucky in game 3 is the one that's going to be able to do. Yeah. That's just how I feel. And my Future Hands opponent that I was able to beat, he was in day 2 too. Like, oh, my dice, when I was watching your match when you were getting slow played and we called the judge, and shout out to the great judges and training new judges, because our newer judge was just watching for pace of play after the call, but like after when like your opponent was actually slow playing you, they just my favorite was they gave you the deck to shuffle and they're like, I'm not going back in, and then looked at their hand and then Mirage Gate, and they were holding the Mirage Gate the whole time.
No, my favorite was when he cut my hand on Iono. And it was a 2-card hand. Bro, cut my hand. Dude. You're slow playing.
What if you play Looker? That makes sense. What if you play Looker?
Then I draw them both. It was my Looker. I draw 3. Is that card even legal? That card's not legal.
That card's not legal.
That card's long gone.
I was just trolling. But I left my dice. So I lost my dice case, and like my big 50, 100, 150, 250, 300 dice, which like we don't do that much damage anymore. But Robert was like, here, you can have some of my dice. So, great guy. Look, Gardevoir, great deck. The thing about Gardevoir is the representation was very low, right? 3.6, 57.14, and then this was 5.
Also low.
Yeah.
But very well-performing decks.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the Experience Share podcast, and we just shared with you our experiences of us trying to figure out what decks to play at Cups. We're going to try to actively go to different Cups so that we don't hit each other. I also have a very losing record against Rowan at Cups. It sucks, but we gotta win some Cups. You gotta win some Cups.
Get that stipend. Get your Worlds invite.
Yep, we're getting closer. Any last words?
No, I hope our viewers learned something in today's episode. If you did learn something, let us know in the comments down below what you learned, what you'd like to see us talk about next, maybe. And other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video.
We're gonna mosquito out of here.